Chapter 33 is How Tracking Undermines Race Equity and Desegregated Schools by Rosalind Arlen Mickelson. Beginning with the Supreme Court's declaration in Brown v. Board of Education that public schools separated by race are inherently unequal, school desegregation has played a central role in efforts to provide the equality of educational opportunity that is essential to the American dream. The rationale for school desegregation rests largely on the claim that it improves minority students' access to higher quality education more often provided to whites. Mickelson creates a case study of the relationship of school segregation and tracking to race equity in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, CMS, a district that prior to the end of the federal court order in 2002 was considered to be one of the nation's most successfully desegregated school systems. Mickelson demonstrates that curriculum tracking resegregated students within the district's high school classrooms, thereby subverting much of the potential academic gains from school desegregation at the school level. At the same time, this study compares achievement outcomes of students who attended segregated and desegregated schools and demonstrates that racially diverse learning environments are clearly better than segregated ones. First-generation segregation generally refers to the racial segregation among schools in the same district, and it has been the focus of national desegregation efforts since Brown. Second-generation segregation refers to the relationship between race and allocation of educational opportunities within schools, typically brought about through curricular tracking of core academic classes in English, math, social studies, and science. Black and Latino students are far more likely to be in low-track classes, where their opportunities to learn are limited relative to high-track classes. In theory, tracking is designed to enhance teaching and learning through targeting instruction and course content to the student's ability and prior knowledge. On the contrary, ample evidence suggests that tracking hinders mid- and low-ability students' opportunities to learn, while there is a growing body of evidence that diverse learning environments maximize opportunities to learn for all students. In racially diverse schools, white students typically are disproportionately found in the top tracks, while children of color are disproportionately found in the lower ones. There is considerable unambiguous evidence that desegregation positively affects minority students' long-term outcomes, such as educational and occupational attainment. CMS's historical significance rests on its use of mandatory busing to desegregate its schools. This practice was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court in its 1971 decision, Swan v. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. Since the mid-1970s, CMS has been considered one of the nation's premier desegregated school systems. For many years, CMS served as a role model for other school systems of how to provide seemingly equitable, high-quality, desegregated public education using busing and other tools. In fall 2002, CMS began a student assignment policy based on neighborhood schools and parental choice. As a consequence of the new student assignment plan, levels of desegregation have decreased markedly since Mickelson collected the data for this study. However, despite CMS's laudable attempts to racially balance enrollment in schools, the race gap in achievement persists. A central component of that gap is racially correlated curricular tracking. Until 2001, CMS was a majority white school district. Court desegregation guidelines defined a school as racially imbalanced if it had fewer than 44% white students. Of the 1997 CMS seniors who participated in the study, 15% of whites and 37% of blacks had some experience in segregated or racially imbalanced elementary schools that had black student enrollments higher than the balanced schools. Attending a segregated black elementary school has direct negative effects on achievement and track placement. What is relevant is that the effects of segregation, though, is that even after controlling for student and family background factors, elementary segregation still has a significant direct effect on both black and white students. North Carolina EOC scores the influential, high-stakes, standardized measure of what they have learned in high school. In addition to the direct effects of segregated elementary education on test scores and track placement, it also has an indirect effect on academic outcomes. Whether the measure of achievement is local, such as grade point average, statewide, North Carolina EOC, or national, the CAT or SAT scores, the greater the proportion of a 12th grader's elementary education that took place in a segregated black school, the lower are his or her grades, test scores, and high school track placement compared with otherwise similar students whose elementary education took place in desegregated environments. These findings are true for both black and white students alike, but because blacks are more likely to have learned in a segregated environment, the results have a particular salience for black students' opportunities for educational equity. Within CMS high schools, courses were tracked. In all CMS high schools, not only are core academic classes tracked, but irrespective of the racial composition of the schools, even within schools considered to be racially balanced, tracking resegregates students such that the lowest tracks, such as special education, are largely black, and the highest tracks, such as advanced placement and international baccalaureate, are overwhelmingly white. Thus, the majority of CMS high school students learn social studies, math, science, and English in racially imbalanced classrooms. Achievement or merit alone cannot explain the track placement. Subjective judgments influenced by students' ascribed characteristics of race, gender, and family background affect track placement. Segregated black learning environments offer fewer material and teacher resources compared with desegregated ones. Both racially identifiable tracks and segregated black schools suffer from similar teacher resource inequities. Qualified, certified teachers are the most important resource available to children. Starkly different levels of material resources, such as up-to-date media centers, ample access to current technology, and newer buildings, are also related to the racial composition of the school, with fewer resources associated with higher percentages of black students. In 1997, segregated black high schools also had fewer advanced placement offerings, and racially identifiable black elementary schools at all levels had proportionately fewer services for gifted and talented students. And as late as 1999, racially identifiable black high schools had far fewer formal classes and informal SAT preparation opportunities, such as after-school, weekend, or at the Stanley Kaplan review course, than did either desegregated or racially identifiable white high schools. The fewer the blacks in the high school, the more opportunities, both formal and informal, there are for SAT preparation. In addition to this, students in the highest tracks, such as academically gifted, advanced placement, international baccalaureate, were all disproportionately white and are the most likely to have teachers who are credentialed and teaching in their field. Conversely, students in the low non-special education track or regular track who are disproportionately black are much more likely to be taught by unlicensed, inexperienced instructors who are teaching out of their field.